This is the image that I will be painting in watercolour this afternoon. It's of a little red squirrel. I know they're few and far between, but if you ever see one, they're just amazing creatures. I got this image from Pixabay, which has lots and lots of images of just about everything and anything under the sun. So if you Google it, you'll be able to find this image, download it yourself, and obviously take reference from it. Now I've done a trace down sketch today. Trace down paper is like old-fashioned carbon paper, but on the back it's got a graphite rubbing, and it's brilliant for doing detail. So I've got lots and lots of fresh clean water, my two Old Faithful brushes, one a number 8 and one a number 5, both with really good points on. The colours that I'll be using will be yellow ochre, a touch of Gamboge yellow, a little bit of orange, sepia, indigo blue, and maybe a touch of purple. So we'll make a start. Load the brush with water. I use one of these little spritzer bottles just to refreshen my palette, because I very rarely wash up my palettes. So I've just sprayed on the colour. So I'm adding a little bit of Gamboge yellow to the orange, and on the picture there's a little bit of orangey kind of shade up here. Just drop your colour in. There's a little bit there under that ear, round on the face, and that bit there. Clean your brush, wipe it on the kitchen roll. Always have kitchen roll handy, you'll be absolutely lost without it. And blend in the colours. Going back to the paint again, a little bit darker in that area, just drop in a little bit of darkened down mix that you've just used. So all I've done is added a little bit of orange to it. Underneath that ear, and also above that ear there, and it goes right up into that point. And I'm just going to drop some stronger orange into that again, just there, while the paper's still wet. It should give a nice blended effect. A little bit down there. Can you see how it's blurring together? That's really good when you're dealing with fur, animals' fur and hair. A little tiny bit over that eye. Clean the brush and blend it in. I'm just going to concentrate on doing this face to start off with. So a little bit of just yellow on its own. There's a little touch of yellow in there by that ear. A little bit more yellow in my palette. It's running low. I need to get some more paint, I think. Some more yellows. Put the top back on. That's it. Right, Just drop a little bit more yellow in there. Lovely. Right, there's a little bit running up there, and then there's a little bit in there, and a little bit underneath. That's it. Yellow paint on my fingers now. Clean your brush, dab off some of the water, blend it in. That's it, lovely. And blend it in underneath that ear as well. That's it. That face is coming together nicely in the head. Now in this area here, just to the back of where the eye is, it is a little bit yellow in there as well, so let's just pop a little bit in and blend it with some of the orangey colour that goes around it. Clean the brush, dab off some of the water, blend in, and on the picture there's a little tiny bit there that's lighter. So I've just wetted the brush and I'm just lifting out some of that paint just there. That's it. It's not as white as the other areas. Right, moving on. Now the muzzle part of the nose is quite white. The sunlight shining on that quite brightly. There's a little bit of orangey around that eye, and then it comes down into quite a bright orange right in there. Clean the brush and blend it out. Now underneath here is where it's gone back to that lighter mix, the original mix that we did, and also the top of the nose there, and there's a little dark bit, and then it's more of the brighter yellow on its own around that face. The face is quite delicate. Just a little bit in there, just drop it in, a little bit underneath, which is where it comes down here to the arm. So that area there is quite bright. It's where the sunlight's catching it, so just pull it across, blend it in. Now underneath that area, the back of the head, which follows the curve of that ear around, so we've got a little bit of dark in there, and then it curves round here just to give the shape of the face and the head, and there's a little bit there which is working lovely with that above it, and that also blends round into that face. Clean your brush, work in a little bit of that. Okay, clean the brush again, and there's a much darker bit where that ear is. Right in the ear is that area just there. And while I've got this colour on my brush, I'll just pop in that eye colour first wash of it anyway. So let's give a bit more definition in that area. Okay, looking good. Let's blend out slightly a bit there. Now we'll concentrate on this leg here. So first of all, I'm going to drop in some yellow. And there's quite a bit of yellow on his paw. So we need to take the yellow up there. And there's a bit of yellow on the side of that toe. And then it drops under there slightly and then comes back up the arm and on that area there, where it joins into the lower ear, where it joins onto his back. That's it. Just clean your brush, blend again. Okay, let's move down onto the other leg, the other front leg. Right here is where we've got the shadow coming down on this area. So this is the highlighted area here. And go down through the toes. Back up, and we'll drop some oranges in. There's a little tiny bit on this one just there, and little bits on the feet, a bit on that paw, so just drop it in, and then as it works out towards where the shadow will be eventually, just a little bit more orange just in there. Blend that in well. Okay, let's mix up some of that shadow colour. I'm using sepia. This gives you like a really rich black colour. A bit of indigo in with that. Or Prussian blue's quite a nice dark. And I'm also mixing in a little bit of purple just to give it a bit more richness. And the shadow is just there underneath where his like wrist would be, or his ankle. Just drop that bit in there. There's a little bit here that follows down that line of the orange and the yellow, making his front left leg look three-dimensional. Pull that back up, drop a little bit more paint. We can come back to this though with a second wash. Just going to put another depth of colour into that eye, and a little tiny bit right inside that ear. But I can pick up on all of those little highlighted bits with pens later on. So, washing most of the colour off my brush, and there's a little bit of shadow at the top of that eye. Sorry, ear, not eye. I do know the difference. Right, follow that in, and same with that one there. clean the brush. I want to take some of that paint out there if I can. That's better. I'm just finishing off round this ear now, above where it looks like flames. I want to take that up there. This is where we can do lots of flicks at the end on that bit. I'm also going to put some clean water just around that area, and then I'm going to pull that into it so that it kind of gives you a fuzzy edge where it's flooding. And the same at the front, I think. Just let that paint flood out. It'll find its own way onto. Can you see up there where I've added that bit extra? It just gives it that feeling of like little hairs almost coming off just there. A little bit of depth around that ear. Okay, there's a little tiny bit of pinky orangey yellow colour around his nose. Just very soft, and it follows into the mouth as well a little bit. I'll just blend that into the white so it's not too sharp looking. I'm going to take that darker colour again, the shadow colour that we mixed. I'm just going to drop in another layer around that eye. There we go. And a little layer to blend the shape, the three-dimensional contour around that leg. A little tiny bit in there. Clean the brush, blend that. There we go. Same with that one, just blend it in. So I'm going to concentrate on the rest of that body now, this lower part of the body. So I've got a nice rich pinky orangey colour going along his back, and it starts there and works its way down, right down to where his tail starts, which is about there. Kind of area, and then tails off down into that. And put a little bit of that in there, and that's it. A bit behind that ear. Okay. A little bit of yellow now. Just adding a little yellow area on the picture. It shows yellow in there, and then it all kind of just blends together on that bit, which shows like a pinky orange with a touch of that very dark shadow, which comes right under his front left leg. I'm just going to take that up there, show that, take little bits out. The bit I'm working on the photo is here. It's that kind of soft muted where all the colours blend together with shadow, and it comes down his leg, which I'm going to work on next. So we've got that same pinky colour that comes down this area. And it goes slightly more yellowy just in that little bit there. got that rich shadow colour. This is the gap between the trunk and the body. So along here is where I want to try and blend the shadow into where those colours merge together. And it's almost like he's got trousers on. It flows up this area and kind of blends together at the bottom here. So I'm just going to drop little bits in so you still get that underwash that you can see through the dark areas. You can get the yellow, you can see the yellow through. So that bit is more defined there. And then there's a bit that's more defined along here where his arm curves. And up into his shoulder area. And then that would be on the side of his chest. I'm just going to blend that area there. And blend that to show a touch more orange in there, and a touch more just in there as well. Put a few more bits in for it to blend. I'm going back to that rich shadow, the black that we mixed. I'm just going to drop that in and let it run into that area there. And these little bits, the white bits that I'm leaving behind, are little highlights that you can see between his underarm and where his elbow is. And this shadow carries on out here and merges with his back and this lovely orangey colour. Then I want to add a little bit of pink to the orange yellow colour and run that down just where his tail is coming out, at the back of his leg. Sometimes if you use the other end of your brush, you can get some quite nice kind of like hairy motions. So this is now going up, and I'll start working on his tail. That's quite nice, that area there. Right, so the bright yellow first, and that's that area there. And just drop paint in. It goes right round. A bit more. Let's clean the brush, load it with fresh clean water, and I want to do a blurring round here because that's where his lovely big bushy tail is. So that's working really well just there, look. And I want to drop in a bit more of that orangey pinky colour on the underneath of his not the underneath, the lower part of his tail. Again, I'm just going to pull some of that paint down so that it kind of goes fuzzy around where his tail is. Just want a little bit more orange colour in there. Now I'm going to drop in some of that dark black colour that we mixed, and this time I'm just adding a little bit of red to it. I want a really rich shadow area down here. I'm just dropping in a few shadowy bits that will follow the line of the tail. That goes back, joins the tail. That should be much darker in there. Down a few little really dark bits to that tail. And the brush, blend that down. Okay, starting to take shape. A little bit of, just to define that little area there, leading up to where his nose is, the line. Right, let's get his chest done, which is mostly white. All that area is highlight white. There's a little bit of pink there. There's a few little pink areas here. There's a little tiny bit of yellow that I can see just there. A little tiny bit of shadow where that leg is. Right, I'm just going to blend this upwards now into where that would be, and that area there is white. Deep rich black into there, just to give his eye a bit more strength. A little tiny bit in that here. It's starting to come together. Try and take out a few little kind of sketchy bits, just to make it look like it's that big bushy tail that they have. Got amazing tails, squirrels. Tree rats, as they're supposedly called. Mind you, I like rats as well, so all beautiful creatures. Let's put a little bit more depth in that yellow there. A little bit more orangey colour right around the back. Okay, that looks much better. A little bit of that dark, rich red. Blend that down. Starting to take shape now. A little bit more of this up here where that leg is. Okay, wash and clean the brush. Right, I'm just following this with this light orange where his foot joins onto this leg. Got one toe there, another toe there. It's like the fourth one and the fifth one. Blends with that black perfectly. Put a little bit of very pale yellow in there. A bit of orange just to give definition in where that toe is. And that one. Just let it blend on its own, I think, on this bit. A bit more orange on that. Give that paw. And down into these toes and his back foot. And I'm just going to drag some of that to that area. Okay, I'm going to start working in now with some pencils. So first of all I'm going to strengthen any yellow areas. So starting from the top, a little bit of yellow running up here. Just a nice little bit of definition. A little bit there, running, and at the back of that ear. And it kind of softens as it works down that leg. Back onto the head. There's quite a yellowy bit going on round the top of his nose area, and that is very pale in there. And there's a few little there into that bit. Right, there's no yellow just there, that's still wet, so I'm not going to touch that for a minute. There's a bit more strength of yellow just on the top of his front right arm. And then on this left one it comes down and it strengthens there as it curves around, and there's just a few areas where it comes down onto there. Then there's yellow in this tail that just does all different directions, really fluffy and rich. It's lovely, that bit. A little bit in there, a little bit in there. Just little additions just to give it more three-dimension. Okay, I'm now moving on to the orange, and on the ear that is quite defined, that bit there. So blend it out into the yellow and also up there. And on the very, very tip there's a bit of orange, and on this ear it comes down, is also quite defined in orange. I will work in with a few highlighter marks with my ink pens. So just round there, there's a little bit there that's a bit darker. Keep working it in. You can see on the picture where it needs blending and it needs a bit more definition and strength. Right, coming down his back now, that's quite a strong area. And right in there, can you see when the paper's wet, this paper here is still damp, you get a much stronger, richer colour. So just work it in. That's it. Right, this leg here has darker bits. This leg here has on the foot darker bits, and it's going a little bit on the orange going up there on the inside of his leg. Little highlight areas here on the toes. There's a bit there on the wrist coming up over that shadow, and then round there's more definition. Yep, it's coming together quite well now. Right, I'm just going to add a few little artistic license bits. Pinks and reds, and I just think there's all sorts in that tail colour. And a little bit there just to balance it out. Now I'm just going to add a little bit to the shadowy areas, just for a bit more strength, but I'll come back in with the black pen and finish off that area. A little bit there that needs a bit more definition. A little bit at the top of that ear, but also on the inside of that ear. I'm working around his mouth and under his chin, and there's a few little black areas to show shadow at the back of his jaw. Then this area here also needs a bit of strength, but then it blends out into the rest of the fur. Coming down that area. Here, where the paper's still wet, there's a fair bit of shadow on the underside of that tail. So I just want to put it in like short, jaggy motions. And I'm going to take my brush, clean it, dip it in the water, and just very, very gently just add water to where you've added crayon, or pencil rather, watercolour pencil. Just kind of blends it all together a bit more. A little bit in there, more depth, a little bit on there, a little bit in there. I'm just going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go back in on the squirrel and work in some black pen. In the meantime, I'm just going to wet this area. And just put a couple of washes to show the kind of the pattern, I suppose, of the bark. I'm just going to drop in some green, which I've mixed from blue and yellow, varying shades. So I just want to add just a few bits. Bit more yellow into that green, let it blend together just to give the impression of bark. I'm going to add a bit of Payne's grey to that green now, and that's in this shadowy area where he is clinging onto the trunk of this tree, which is, his body is throwing the shadow. Clean my brush, do a little bit of blending, not lots and lots, because I want to keep all that blurry kind of pattern that's showing for the trunk. Now if you take kitchen roll, scrumple it up and then roll it into like kind of a random sausage, I suppose, scrunching it as well. You can roll it across this page and hopefully it will leave some beautiful marks there. Look, can you see there that it's, you can roll it upwards. There, starting to come together. Now when this is dry, I'm going to work in with a bit of pen, so we'll just leave that to dry for a minute or two. Okay, now it's all nice and dry. I'm going to go in with this drawing pen. It's an Artline 0.5 nib, and all I do is, following the photograph, just put in a few little definition areas. So you can see how his ears are nice and fluffy on the end there. There's a bit more depth to that orange area. His whole ear has a definite shape to it. There's a little black area in there. Keep working. You can touch very lightly with these pens. It's going to add more depth to this eye even now. Curve that round. There we go. Got a little bit more round there. A little bit to his nose. A bit to his mouth. There's a little area in there that needs, and this is the underneath of his arm, front left leg. Just build it up and down into the wrist. There's also an area up here that needs a bit more work, and under the chin. Now work out his back where it joins the tail. Now the tail I want to give more definition. I'm going to go back in a minute when do lots of flicky actions, but for now this black pen will give me the idea of shadowy lines. And down here, let's do the leg on that side. And I want to follow the line of these toes. So I've got one there where he's clinging on with his little black nail. And there's another one there with another black nail. One there, a bit of shadow. Nail curling round. Then he's got this area here that curves that way, and that's kind of in shadow there. And then there's another nail there, and then at this end there's another nail. so. Okay, and this other foot comes down like that. Got one, the nails curl round, they don't stick out, just straight. And his toes are quite bony. I just want to follow the line of this one. Put in a little bit for that tree trunk. A bit more there, some belly ears. Right, I'll just put the top on that pen. And I just want to pick up some splashy bits because he is moving up this tree. Now follow the line of your splashes in the direction that things are growing, whether it be a plant or fir. So his tail is coming out at that angle, like that. There's a little bit on the end, probably little bits in there. Little bits in there. So if you dilute it right down, I like to put overhead bits on as well. I'm going to put some highlights on the tree trunk, a bit more on that tree trunk. It's nice when the two splashy areas mix together. I'm going for a bit more shadow. Using the brush, a little bit of orange, and I'm going in here with the orange on the underside of his tail, nice and rich. On the top of these ears, just there as well. I'm going to pick up some of that dark shadow that we mixed earlier with the indigo, Payne's grey, a little bit of red or purple, and some sepia. I just want to put some in there to give it a little bit of strength in that underside of the tail. I'll just drop a few bits in there where the shadow is forming. A little bit there. A bit more water. A little tiny bit just there. And I just want to add some of this to that tree trunk, especially where it's darkest. In there. Then with the other highlighter pens is a Derwent paint pen, 0.5 nib, the same as the black pen, and I just add a little bit if I feel it needs it. So there was a little bit underneath that ear that needs a bit of highlight, I think. A few little bits here and there. Don't need lots. You can quite easily get carried away with these pens though, they're lovely to use. Okay, now all I need to do is just add a little bit of, so this is now dry, I'm just going in with a pastel, white pastel, and I just want to add a few little bits just to blend slightly. Little bits down there. Oh, that's a bit damp. Okay, little bits up there. Just see if we've got a nice shade of green pastel. Just to add a little bit more to this. You can use any medium at all, you don't need to stick to using just watercolour with watercolour. I use anything, to be honest, all sorts of weird and wonderful combinations. Yeah, that's given that tree trunk a little bit more depth. Let's see if I've got it. All the time I'm just looking for areas that need a little bit more definition. Like all the time I think this tree trunk needs more. Little bits between the toes. Yeah, that's coming together now, I think. Right, just going to put a little bit of black around here to show where his chest area is, and a little bit more shadowy bits in there. Okay, I think we're nearly there. A bit there under that arm. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. You can carry on using pastels, watercolour pencils, you could use a granulation medium in this tree trunk to dribble it all down to make it look even more bark-like, but for me I'm staying there with this one. Okay, see you next time.